Hi, so this week's story time is taking us to Spain. This book is called Show Me the Way to Spain. And of course, Spain is a country in Europe. Here is a map of Spain on the front cover. You can see that there are several different cities that are highlighted that they're going to show us. And the really neat thing about Spain is that each town and each city is so unique. There's so much history. So as we go through this, I want you to pay attention to each of the photos and, of course, the words I'm saying and see how different each of the towns are from one another. Even though they're fairly close together on this map, there's so many variances that really make Spain very unique. There's a lot of information in this book, and I'm not going to read every single page because I think it would just maybe take too long. So if you want to learn more, find this book and then read all of the pages and all of the information that's in here, okay? So let's jump right into it and see what we can learn about Spain. The first place that we are, first they're going to give us an overview. And here is, let me scoot over so we can do this. There we go. Here's a picture. And these are real photos that are going to be in this picture, in this book, instead of animated photos. So I really want you to get a good look at that. And then it says, there's a lot of words here. It says, in the country of Spain, there are so many interesting things to do. You can eat delicious tapas, which are tiny bite-sized foods. You can watch flamenco dancers as they stomp their feet and dance to the music. You can listen to music in the street during a festival called a fiesta. You can wander the streets and look at ancient buildings that have stood for centuries, and we're going to see quite a few of those. And Spain is a country that is filled with culture as well as history and tradition. Okay, so that's the overview. And then they're going to take us to several different cities. The first one is Barcelona. And down on the map, you can see that they're putting it here, like Barcelona is up in that corner. Actually, a little bit crooked, but that's okay. So that's Barcelona. And here is the photo. So there's a big kind of city square, like a circle that's going on in front of that. Can you see all that? So it says Barcelona is located in the northeastern part of Spain. It's the second largest city in Spain. And one of the most beautiful things about Barcelona is the architecture of its buildings. And that is very true. Definitely want to check out the architecture when you're there. The design of the buildings is a style called Catalan, and interesting buildings appear everywhere throughout the city. They do have more information on Barcelona here, but we're going to skip to the next city, okay? Bilbao. Look how different the buildings are. Look at all of those different colors and how it's a little bit more like in a block, right? It looks a little bit like Legos possibly here. So Bilbao is a seaport city. It's in northern Spain. Just as Barcelona represents the Catalan culture, Bilbao is the gateway to the Basque culture. One of the most fascinating places to visit is the Guggenheim Museum, the version that's in Bilbao. The amazing design of this building looks like giant pieces of metal ribbon that are curved. And it was architect Frank, oh, I don't know his last name, Gary's design, and it became famous. Now, also at that museum, I'm going to show you this picture. And what do you think that this looks like? I'm not gonna zoom in too much. Looking at that from a little bit farther away, it kind of looks like a puppy. But if I go closer, do you see how there's all these flowers on it? Yeah, that's kind of neat. So the museum has an enormous collection of modern art with lots of interesting pieces, including this puppy by Jeff Koons. It's an outdoor metal frame with soil and flowering plants that looks like a gigantic puppy. So how neat is that? That's outside of the museum. Definitely unique. Let's move on to a different town called Burgos. Show you the picture first. Sorry, this book is a little flimsy. That picture looks like it's going to have an old building, right? So Burgos is a quiet and serene city in the northern part of Spain. The city has a rich heritage that goes back to 884 AD when it was founded. It is nicknamed the Land of Castles because of its monuments from medieval times. And two of those monuments are, one of them's here. So you have this monastery, and it was built in 1401. That's what's in this picture. If I flip the page, this other one is a Gothic cathedral. Look at that, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. See all the like spires at the top and just how large and grand this is. So another popular place to visit is the Cathedral of Burgos. So the Burgos Cathedral, which has been called the most beautiful example of a Gothic cathedral in Spain, and it was originally built in 1230 AD, several hundred years ago. Next is a town called Cordoba. Cordoba has a night view in this photo of the river that goes through Cordoba. So beautiful bridge. And it says Cordoba is an inland seaport that is located on this river. It was established by the Romans, and some of their designs, such as the Roman arches, can still be seen in the city. So did you know that the Roman Empire actually extended outside of Italy to other parts of Europe, including Spain? Eventually, the city was taken over by the Muslims, and they built beautiful buildings when they made the city the capital of their kingdom, called Al-Andalus. It's considered to be one of the most beautiful of Spain's cities. Now, we're not going to go too much into the history, but Spain has had several different religious groups that have gone back and forth. And so the architecture definitely represents that. And here's another example. It says it was so magnificent that when the Christians took it back from the Muslims, there's that back and forth, in the year of 1236, they left most of the city's amazing architecture standing. Okay, because a lot of times they go in and destroy the other culture. Instead, they went, wow, this is really beautiful, and they kept a lot of those buildings. So one of the most interesting buildings is the Mezquita, which was built as an Islamic mosque. It was used for different religions at a time when Muslims, Jews, and Christians all worshipped side by side. Here, picture that type of architecture. Hard to see the different arches, but as you walk from one side of the room to the other, you're going underneath all of these different archways. Okay. The next town looks even more different. So this is Girona. Take a look at the cobblestone roads, that cool little balcony right here, the stones of all the buildings. Again, every town has its own personality. So Girona is located in the northern part of Spain, close to the mountains and by a river. Part of the city is surrounded by a majestic wall. It has lovely large squares and cobblestone streets for sightseeing. It also has lots of historical buildings. And the good news is the beaches, Costa Brava, are only about a 20-minute drive by car. So not only do you get this beautiful type of old city, the beach is also pretty close. The next place we're visiting is Granada. Here is a overview of the houses. Do you see how all of these are about the same color? So do you remember the ones that look like Lego blocks of a bunch of different colors? Now this one, in this historical part of the city, it's a lot of white buildings, the greenery and all those trees throughout it. So for Granada, it says, the city of Granada is located near the Sierra Nevada mountains. It's in the southern region of Spain that is called Andalusia. It has been called the land of 1,000 castles because of the beautiful buildings constructed there by the Arabs. They claimed it in the 8th century, but the Christians took it back in 1492. And one of the major sites is the Alhambra, which is a spectacular palace and fortress complex. It's believed that a spirit lives within its ancient walls. And I'll zoom in on this so you can see it. Look how big that place is. Compare the size of it to some of these trees over here. Massive palace. Next, we are going to visit another town, Huesca. And take a look at the landscape in the background. Do you see like these mountains that are lots of cliffs and lots of rock, right? So this is in a different location. It's the city of Huesca is situated in the northeastern region of Spain called Aragon. People who love adventure and skiing come to this beautiful mountainous region for two famous resorts. The resorts are crowded with skiers from all over the world in the winter months. And in the summer months, hikers come to see the beautiful scenery in its national park, which has these towering summits. If you want to get outside into nature, this is the town that you want to go visit and then take some day trips and go hiking or skiing. Okay, this one has a different picture. Oh, this is Jerez de la Frontera. And of course, you can see these beautiful horses. Okay. It says Jerez is located in southwestern Spain. And if you want to see the traditional flamenco dancing, which I'll show you a picture of that in a little bit, this is the place to visit. The lively flamenco music and the dancers with their quick rhythmic steps, they fill the streets. Jerez is also an important city for Andalusian horses, which is right here. This amazing type of horse is a pure Spanish breed whose ancestors lived on the Iberian Peninsula for thousands of years. And another town is called Logroño, right here. Wow, look how much detail is in this cathedral. Can you imagine having to build all of those little spires, all of these little things that stick up from here? Just so much detail. So Logroño is one of the most ancient cities in Spain, and some of its buildings date back to the Middle Ages. Much of its history is tied to the route that the faithful Christian pilgrims would take to Santiago de Compostela to visit the grave of the apostle known as James the Great. Logroño was an important resting spot along the way. So as they were doing this Camino de Santiago, right? They were going on this path, and they had to walk through this as a pilgrimage. There were certain places where they would stop along the way before they got all the way to the end, right? And Logroño was one of those stopping points, the resting areas. It's a beautiful resting area. Now we go to one of their largest cities, and it is Madrid. Now the buildings have changed, haven't they? Now it looks a little bit more stately. It looks like a little bit more government, right? These large buildings that just stand up nice and strong. And Madrid, the city of Madrid, is located right in the center of Spain, and its capital city. It's a huge city with over 4 million people that live there. The biggest draw for visitors coming to Madrid are its many amazing art museums, and they have 3 that are very popular there. Let me move on to the next page and also show you a different side of Madrid. Right here, it says, and I'll zoom back in on that, it says Madrid is also known for its many cafes and flea markets. And at night, there are lively parties and disco music everywhere. So can you imagine sitting right here in these outdoor seats and listening to some music and having maybe a bite to eat in these little cafes that are on these streets? So Madrid has a couple of different styles within the city because it is so large. Next, we have Salamanca. This one looks different. Do you see the color difference of this building? So here, Salamanca is located in the western part of Spain within the region that's called Castile and Leon. The city has a student culture because one of the oldest Spanish universities is located here, and it's called the University of Salamanca, or Universidad de Salamanca. Okay. And we're going to show you a different place. Santillana del Mar. Okay, this looks like an old building again, but pay attention to this. Do you see how, like the houses, here's your balconies, here's your different rooms. Just could you imagine living in a house like this and how pretty that would be? The Santillana del Mar is located on the west coast of the region of Cantabria, Spain. If you would like to see how a medieval village looked in the era between the 14th through the 18th century, kind of like this, then you'll have fun exploring this historic city by foot. So you really do get a taste of what a medieval city looked like and how people lived when you visit this place. All right, we have, I think, 2 more places left. Yeah, we have 2 more places. So Seville, here's a photo of Seville. This is actually for a festival or a fair that happens in April. And we say it as Seville. I think the locals say Sevilla. So the city of Seville is located along the river, and it's the largest city in the southern part of Spain. If you love festivals, Seville is a great place to visit. Every year, the entertainers set up like this, and they perform an amazing uh, Feria de Abril, which is the April Fair, which is Spain's most colorful festival. That looks really pretty. And lastly, we're going to show you a picture of some food and talk about Valencia. Here's the photo of the food. We're going to come back to that, but can you see anything in there that you recognize? Right. So Valencia is the third largest city in Spain in terms of population. Madrid is the largest, Barcelona is the second largest, and then you have Valencia. Valencia is home to this traditional dish right here, which is paella. It's a delicious dish with chicken, sausage, shrimp, and yellow saffron rice. So now can you see that? Oh, wouldn't you like to give that a try? Yeah. And finally, we're going to wrap it up with a picture of these flamenco dancers, and I will read the how they summarize this. So while we pay attention to the flamenco dancers, it says, the cities of Spain are filled with history and culture from coast to coast. The world's major religious groups, including Muslims, Jews, and Christians, have all lived there and have shaped the architecture, the art, and the culture of this amazing country, including music and dance. The coastlines have beautiful beaches. The coastlines have beautiful beaches, and skiers enjoy the scenic mountain resorts. The tapas will tempt your taste buds, and your ears will love the rhythmic music and dancing of the traditional flamenco, which is this. And that was Spain. So thanks for taking the trip with us today. I'm Cassie. I really enjoyed showing you around some of the different cities and towns of Spain in this book. And next week, our adventure takes us to India. That'll be a little bit unique. You may not know as much about India, so we will see you there.